So have you seen this weird, interesting icon that's illuminated on your dash? We're going to tell you how to get rid of it and exactly what it means for your car. All right, so for you newcomers to the wheel and tire community, let's talk about what a TPMS system is. It's basically a tire pressure monitoring system. The job of this system is to make sure that it keeps track of all the air pressures that are involved for your tires, to make sure that if one was to go low, that you have some sort of indication, can pull over and try to save yourself from plunging off the road. So if you want a little history about this thing, basically this is TPMS Sensors system. First made its debut in a Porsche 959 back in '86. Doesn't really have any relevance for you now because after 2007, all vehicles in the United States were mandatorily obligated to make sure that these systems were included in your vehicle. So if your vehicle is older than 2007, you may have it, but if it's newer than 2007, you definitely have it. So when we talk about TPMS sensors, we are talking about two different types of systems, direct and indirect. You don't really have to know how they work essentially, but let's talk about the fact that one of them will have sensors and one of them won't. So if you have a direct system, you have sensors. If you have an indirect system, you don't have sensors. Now, you might see indirect systems on cars, especially a lot of the German cars, and essentially what they're doing is they're using the ABS system to calculate how many revolutions that wheel is making. So essentially, it's going to be able to tell you when it starts to get to a point where it's saying, hey, look, this tire is lower than it should be, and most likely that's caused from lack of air pressure. Check it out. Now, the one thing you should know about TPMS sensors, you may have different parts of the year where they tend to illuminate a little bit more than others, and it doesn't necessarily always mean that there's a problem with your vehicle, but it does indicate that you should check something out. For example, when it starts to get colder, you may notice that light comes on, maybe even intermittently, and that usually means that you're right on the cusp of having the proper air pressure for your tire. You may notice that as you drive and the tire heats up, as air tends to expand, all of a sudden that light goes out. So that's a good chance that you just need a little top off, few different PSI in that tire, and you should be good to go. Now let's talk about a TPMS sensor that maybe has illuminated, throwing that good light on. Let's talk about how we can quickly diagnose it, and I think this is probably the most important step that you should follow. First thing you should do a quick visual. Walk around the car. There may be something very obvious that's going on. One tire completely flat, yep, that would give it away. Now it's time to make sure that you either get air in that tire or take it to a wheel and tire professional, have it plugged, patched, or replaced depending on what the condition of the tire is. Now let's say after that visual walk around, you realize that you have good looking tires.
Okay.
And with that, you don't feel that there's anything wrong. Let's go ahead and use the cheapest effective tool here, and we're gonna use a tire pressure gauge. We're gonna check them out, make sure they're all within spec according to your vehicle's recommended factory settings. The next step is to actually have the vehicle scanned to figure out what the code is that's triggering that light. Now, most garages, most auto parts stores, and most wheel and tire professionals will have a scan tool to be able to plug into your car and be able to pull the codes out of the TPMS sensors to figure out exactly what's going on. So if for some reason maybe one of the batteries have died, they tend to last about 10 years. They're not necessarily expensive to replace. You are going to want to have them replaced because you do need to do that with a wheel and tire professional. They can be able to break the bead on the tire, replace the sensor, and then air you back up. Now there could be some other reasons. Maybe you encountered a massive pothole, maybe you had your tires changed recently, and maybe the installer accidentally broke one of your sensors. These are all possible things that could happen. To know which sensor it is and exactly what the issue is, whether it's a battery dead, or the sensor's broke, or the sensor's malfunctioning, or the sensor's just not communicating anymore. These are all common reasons, but they're much easier to guess and figure out exactly what's going on with that sensor with one of those scan tools that you probably don't own. So it's go ahead, take it over to the auto parts store, take it over to your mechanic, take it over to a wheel and tire professional, get it scanned, and you will be right back on the road without that annoying dash light. So we hope that you found this helpful, and we hope that you'll use this information to make sure that you stay properly inflated in the good way. So thanks for hanging out with us, and we'll catch you on the next one.